We are live, LSU Odyssey, live in the house. How's it going, everybody? How's it going? From
LSU
our house,
Odyssey
live
live
in the house. Gotta close that window. My bad there. Sorry about that. There is so much going on at LSU that it is incredible. LSU has now become the center of the college football world and the broader discussion of a lot of these issues around college football, now including whether you can go to the NFL, play a preseason game, and still come back and play college football, which is on the cusp of now happening because Daquan Wright, a former Lane Kiffin tight end at Ole Miss, has just entered the transfer portal just an hour ago, according to breaking news from Matt Zenitz there. But news that LSU Odyssey also broke, and Pete Nakos broke the first part of that story, that, of course, that these 16 former college football players had won their lawsuit to seeking eligibility for one more season. And they had won that lawsuit that was filed, by the way, in the state of Louisiana, which was also pointed out to me, interestingly. So, like, hey, remember this. I'm like, oh, okay. So it seemed like LSU may have had a vested interest in some of these players who filed this lawsuit, may have wanted this process to happen. That was kind of hinted to me. Don't have any information to 100% confirm that. But Jack Pyburn is now right in that discussion. He had 2 sacks for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is he, after playing one preseason game in the NFL for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, getting 2 sacks, is he now going to be returning to LSU after one season out? That everything that you thought was impossible for college football, every line that you believed could never be crossed in college football has now been not only crossed, but completely trounced, completely just decimated, like there was never, like, that rule never even existed in the first place. It is unbelievable. The world of college football that we live in now, it is something from the upside down, is what I told our buddy Jay Crane, from the Great Crane and Company. I told him, is this something from the upside down? When I sent him the link to the Pyburn story, and that, and it's something where I understand it from Jack Pyburn's perspective too. If there's a loophole to take advantage of that could potentially help your future, and the adults in the room making these decisions, leaving this leeway, these avenues completely open to be taken advantage of by these rogue lawyers, these rogue attorneys, making a lot of money on these cases, making their clients a lot more money NIL wise by giving them one more year with these cases. These judges who are for sure compromised. Just for one example, the Trinidad Chambliss case was absolutely just reeking of corruption. Kids should have never had another year in college football. Never should have had another season. And that was quickly just swept under the rug. And now you have another crossing of that line, a breaching of that. These are unspeakables in college football, for college football fans. This was stuff that we thought we would never have to even discuss a player going to the NFL. He's, whether he's been drafted or he's an undrafted free agent, he signed a contract with the team at least, right? Even if that team releases him, well, sorry, buddy, you've had your college chance. How many guys had that? Maybe has that happened to in the history of college football and NFL and just the general football history? Has that happened where guys have maybe actually had more of a case than even these guys do for an extra year, but did not get that shot? And now you're seeing guys who it's very questionable if they have another year of eligibility or not, and they're getting that extra year of eligibility. And this all started from that COVID year, the extra year uh, with the COVID season, where everybody in that in that era had another extra season of eligibility that they could pull out of the hat. It's it's wild. It's wild. And it's not only Jack Pyburn that LSU should be looking at now, as someone who could fit in with the program, but also could be a late, very late addition to this roster. But Daquan Wright, who just entered the portal, as Matt Zenitz had reported, this is a guy who played with Lane Kiffin. Sorry, played under Lane Kiffin, and you heard Lane Kiffin talk about he was not really pleased with the offensive line. He was not really pleased with what was going on with the offensive line depth, I should say. He liked the starting five. He felt comfortable with the starting five. Still had questions, still had concerns, but also beyond Malachi Thomas, beyond Trades Green, Zach Grace is an answer at tight end per chance, or is he more of like a fullback, halfback kind of guy, H-back? Here's Daquan Wright, also played at Virginia Tech, Ole Miss. Everyone thought his college career was done, but now he has become the first ever NFL player, former NFL player, of someone who signed a contract with an NFL team to now enter the college transfer portal. How is that even possible? Well, it's because they were given that extra year of eligibility by these judges, by these rogue lawyers who went demanding it, by the lawsuit that was filed in Louisiana. Jack Pyburn, former LSU Tiger, was a part of that lawsuit. Daquan Wright was a part of that lawsuit. Multiple, three different former Ole Miss guys. Wyatt Williams was one of them, but three different guys. Daquan Wright was one of them as well. Were a part of that lawsuit as well, that lawsuit filing. And so you have some options here for LSU. Is LSU going to be that first college team to go in and sign a former NFL player? Because I mean, this is wild, guys. I mean, you also have the Luis stuff in college basketball with Will Wade going on, where everyone's freaking out about the Luis stuff to the point that Sankey is going nuts and trying to cause some havoc in the state of Louisiana as well himself. I mean, this is getting wild. This RJ Luis thing is getting it is wild what we're getting in here. Greg Sankey said this fuels the disruption in college sports and should not be allowed. And this is according to an affidavit that he filed in a Louisiana courthouse last week. So this is all going down in the state of Louisiana. Remember that I'm trying to really impress this upon you, that not only was the original lawsuit from these 16 players filed in Louisiana, but now Greg Sankey is going to the Louisiana courts to try and prevent RJ Luis coming to LSU and prevent maybe some other guys from coming to LSU as far as LSU basketball and LSU football. Um, this is going to get really ugly because I see a lot of fans who just do not like this at all. Think that even if this benefits our team, even if say there's injuries going on, which we will get into, we don't we that's a former pro. He had his chance. He's done. Whether that be Jack Pyburn, whether that be Daquan Wright, whoever the hell it might be, Joe Burrow coming back from this, we're done. Like this is not college sports anymore. That's kind of the argument from people. And you know what? It's impossible to argue that to argue against that. It's impossible to argue against that. In fact, I don't understand people who wouldn't really agree with that, to be honest. I think you can kind of sense that this is really the end of amateurism happened in 2021, but it wasn't really felt until there was no caps, there was no limitations. The Wild West wasn't just allowed to continue. The Wild West was allowed to permeate and to really get to this level. And I knew it would. I told you back then, I hate saying that. I hate saying I told you, but there was a show where I was saying kind of like, you know what, this Wild West is going to continue. You know why? Because it's making a lot of people a lot of money. Agents. Now you become NIL agents. Now you're representing high school kids, not just college guys, not just pros. It got out of control. The amount of people who got involved in the cash. Local businesses wanted a piece of that action. It got out of control, the amount of different hands that wanted to be fed here with that money. And, you're paying $5 million for a backup quarterback. That's the type of NIL economy college football has created for itself because they allowed that Wild West to permeate, because these people who never play a down on the field, people who never have anything to do with the decision making whatsoever to do with playing on the field or outcomes of games, anything like that. These guys don't play the games, but for some reason, what they're doing is affecting the game so much because of their greed, and the adults in the rooms who are complete buffoons, whether it's the NCAA or commissioners or whoever, have allowed this to happen. Mostly blame it on the NCAA, really, to be honest. Greg Sankey seems to be the only one kind of doing something about it. They've allowed these loopholes to be taken advantage of by the RJ Luises, the Jack Pyburns, the Daquan Wrights. And I don't blame those kids for if they feel that that's the best path for them and their futures, coming back and doing another season. But I also understand the fans who are sick and tired of this bullshit, that this is getting outrageous. This is getting so freaking wild that you have judges on the take in Mississippi so obviously putting Trinidad Chambliss with another extra season of eligibility with so much riding on it. And you knew that man should have recused himself, but you knew he wouldn't do it. He's almost in tears, reading, this man get another year of eligibility. It was shocking. And what was sick was when that decision was made and everyone kind of went, well, I guess that's the way that's going to happen. There's no one who can say, hey, I don't care if this judge made that decision. He's not eligible. Sorry. I'm Greg Sankey. I run the SEC. He's not eligible. I don't care what anyone says. He's played his seasons. Goodbye. How come there is no one who can step in and stop the madness? I think that's just like such a simple and basic but like obvious question that no one is asking. Because we're so used to this dysfunction in college football that we expect there to be such insanity to allow such insanity that the idea of a Greg Sankey, of someone, of anyone coming in and saying, no, 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 that's not happening. We cannot let this turn it that far into pro sports, go that far into being just a farm league for pro sports and beyond, to a sickening level, to a sickening degree, that it just really ruins the whole sole purpose of the being college sports. It's just lines we do not want to cross here. And I think LSU should be very careful with how far they go into this, because you've already got your target on your back. We feel that as fans. We feel that as people in the media who everything we cover, man, it's polarizing. The people get polarized, whether that's the Jaden Daniels versus LSU thing that's going on. Man, you say anything about that, it's you against LSU or it's you against Jaden Daniels. You know, burn it all down, cut the throats. Like it's warfare. And this whole thing about college sports being completely abandoned when you bring back a few guys who had signed an NFL contract, but then get released from that contract, but are given an extra year of eligibility, you kind of had the feeling of they can kind of play. Oh well, if I get cut by the NFL, I can just go back to college. Like it's like it just makes it really go into these realms of anything goes, of anything is possible, of just in pure insanity, really, when you're talking about the extensions of eligibility. No rhyme, no reason to a lot of it. No really good excuses for any of it. Um, it's just it's really so hard to fathom that we are here in this place in college football, on the cusp of what should be a very exciting season yet again. We are in this place in college football where madness has taken hold. And you know what? LSU fans, we got to be real. LSU might be the program, both football and basketball, that is the most willing to take advantage of that loophole as well, and be the first one to sign some of these players. That's a highly likely scenario here, that Lane Kiffin gets to Daquan Wright or Jack Pyburn, maybe both. Maybe they go for someone else. There's talk of a former Ohio State kicker who's now filing a lawsuit. Like, these guys are leaving this so late that these decisions are made within a week or two of opening kickoff. It is wild. It is wild. And here's the thing too, what happens if, okay, they get that eligibility, they play the first 3, 4 games, in that 4th game, they tear their ACL, so now they get another medical redshirt season, so now they can come back again? Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on where this madness is going. I've seen a lot of people's thoughts, and a lot of people are they're just done with this. They're just done with this stuff. They're really, they've had enough. People are just, they're sick of where college football is going. They don't want to see this. They don't want to see this madness where it really is like a pro sports farm league to the next level, and it's just soulless. Um, you can expect, as we reported, LSU Odyssey reported this yesterday, that Jack Pyburn's father, Bill, he told us that Jack says he has some unfinished business in college football. Okay. So what does that say to you? Lawsuit filed in Louisiana. He says he has unfinished business. I think you can almost guarantee that Jack Pyburn, unless he makes the Buccaneers roster with flying colors, which, hey, he had 2 sacks in the last game against the Jets. Unless that happens, if he gets cut and he gets released, he's gonna do everything to go to LSU, and the question is, will LSU take him? And here's the thing that will kind of take us right into, LSU fall camp talk. Um, LSU right in the last part, the crunch time of fall camp here. Now, this is the last day of LSU media availability. From now on, it's like, no one can see this. It gets serious. Even Kiffin was pissed that the creative team put out a video that showed a little bit too much than he wanted, and I believe they deleted that tweet of that footage, but it's okay. The great Carter the Power dissected that footage frame by frame, and we took a ton of screenshots ourselves of that thing frame by frame, and go through it, and we're like, holy shit. Okay, so all of that information has already been dissected, but now it's real. The you know, it's week 1 is so damn close, everybody. You can taste it, what, 15 days away, 16 days away? Someone's gonna correct me, it's 17 or whatever. I don't Okay, let's skip a few, like, this has gotten to the point where we've all talked about these narratives, but we really wanna just get into the football. We really wanna just see what we've got, but, you know, Lane Kiffin had a lot of interesting things to say today, though. Um, Not only did he reveal that, yes, there were some injuries and Lamar Brown was injured. Jordan Ross, defensive end, was injured for a few practices there. Not there. Defensive end. We already lost Gabe Relaford for the season. He's now back. And he looks okay. Probably not 100%. But now Lamar Brown, who is looking really good in fall camp so far, his first camp for LSU after missing spring, um, you know, because of his not for any reason, but because of his eligibility in school and all that. When he's able to graduate, he skipped. He not skipped. He missed that, and so he came. His first camp experience is fall camp, and he's already getting in the face of the quarterback. He's already showing a ton of pass rushing acumen, able to really stick his feet in the ground and show that speed and that athleticism, the twist, the turn, the absolute bite that he has as a player. You feel like he's got something special, Lamar Brown. And now a little bit of injury for him. That sucks. You get Jordan Ross back, great news, but then you lose Lamar Brown. Hopefully that's not serious. But there's an opening there. There's an opening there, a need there for potentially Jack Pyburn, defensive end. That's a position you may need to beefing up. Jack Pyburn, who's already played a year in the defense, maybe he's worked on his conditioning. Maybe he's upped his game in comparison to where he was at. We saw him say that and go on a rant in a press conference for the Buccaneers where he said he didn't work hard enough. He didn't want it enough. He didn't do enough in college. And now he's dedicating himself to that and all that type of stuff. Well, okay, he had a lot of pressures, but he could not finish sacks off. He was involved in 4 total sacks, but every one of them he's credited with a half of a sack, and so he had just 2 total sacks, but really it should have been 4. Um, and he's got mostly that total in just 1 game for Tampa Bay. And he looked really good. He looked really fast off the ball, quick release, quick moves, dipping inside. His swim it's looking sharp. This is a player who I think is improved. I think he would be something that you could add to this defense to beefing it up, to thicken your options, and just give yourself extra help where you really need it most in that pass rush. You really need to finish off plays in the backfield. Princewell, he can't do it all himself. Jordan Ross, we're going to need a big season from him. Dylan Carpenter, what can he provide you off the bench? Maybe Lamar Brown is the freshman, looking really good, but we'll see what that injury entails. Damian Shanklin, is he even going to be on the team? Is he even going to play another game for LSU? We have been investigating what he's been going through, Damian Shanklin, and we will be reporting that as soon as we possibly can. It's a multi-layered, very bizarre situation. It's just something we can't comment on right this second, but you'll all know soon. We'll just say that. But yeah, LSU have been hit there. LSU have been hit by some injuries, by some absences at the defensive end, the edge rushing spot. That's an area where LSU really struggled last year. I've said this stat many times. Just 14 and a half sacks from your defensive line and edge rushers combined last year. Just 27 as a defensive total. You've got to generate something a lot better this season. I think they will. I think this is a group that has upgraded, but you've got to avoid injuries. Okay. And we're just starting to see it pick up a bit more. We're just starting to see some injuries pick up a bit more, and it's worrying us. But Lane Kiffin, interestingly, in his press conference, everyone's talked about, and we've written about Deuce Gerald's, Rich Anderson, and we've seen them start with the ones. And I think Kiffin wanted to send a message to Dominic McKinley, Stefan Greens, guys like that, by having those guys start with the ones in those first few media periods, to kind of send a message and rub it in their face of like, yeah, I'm having the freshmen start over you. Do you want the job or not? And I think it woke up Dominic McKinley, and I think it woke up Stefan Green. But man, if you heard what Lane Kiffin said about Dominic McKinley today, it was very interesting. He went in and said Dominic McKinley, man, he had a bad spring. And so they challenged him after spring, get your shit together, basically. Not to quote Kiffin, but that's basically what was said. And McKinley has brought it and has had a really fantastic, I think Kiffin said, very good fall camp. And you've been seeing that lately, that, well, he's been featured with the ones more, and we've, and they kind of hush it a bit. But here's the thing. McKinley's a guy who could be really one of those least talked about guys through fall camp, who could then absolutely be a wrecking ball for LSU this season. And then you just have ammo at that defensive tackle spot now. Just one round after another. You have veterans with Stefan Green or Malik Blockton, who also is another guy who's been fighting some injuries recently. Stefan Green has been a guy fighting some injuries recently. So can you depend on them? Dominic McKinley, he's got to produce. He's good enough. He has the talent. He has the ability to be a superstar defensive tackle. He's got to produce. If he doesn't, those two freshmen right there on the screen, they'll take his job. And so McKinley has shown up in fall camp in his best former 5-star abilities, because Kiffin seems to really love what he's been showing. And I think you're going to see McKinley likely start week 1. I think you'll see probably McKinley with one of these freshmen You know, I think you could probably see McKinley with Deuce Gerald's, McKinley with Big Rich Anderson. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what you're going to see um, as your defensive tackle combination in Week 1 versus Clemson is McKinley plus, opposite one of these young defensive linemen. But Lane Kiffin had a lot of interesting things to say about that with McKinley. You can see the interview there on our website in full with Lane Kiffin, that press conference. The last media availability press conference with Lane Kiffin, I believe he'll do one more at the media, likely before kickoff against Clemson for sure. But yeah, he was very excited about Sam Levitt as well and how he is spinning the football, saying that Sam Levitt not being able to push off or move around much with his feet in spring has actually helped him expand his acumen and his prowess throwing the football. And it's so far, I got to agree with Kiffin because here's the thing: the 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 arm abilities, just pure arm abilities, that Sam Levitt has been showing has been outrageous lately. Like up 3 or 4 levels than we knew was possible with this kid. Um, if he can just be even slightly healthy this season, rushing the football, just have it as a weapon. He doesn't have to be. And you look at that running back, that backfield that we've got. You have 3 potential number 1 backs. He doesn't need to be going off on a quarterback keeper every moment like Jaden Daniels or something. Like you would think with this backfield we could be able to manufacture these rushing yards. Not even have to manufacture, but you know what I'm saying. We could. And so Sam Levitt, I think he can grow into the season as that dual threat guy without having to really have it the onus on him to be running every second and actually sit back, snap the football, getting that 3 foot drop, and then deliver the football very quickly over the middle. Deliver the football very quickly in the screen game. Find Trades Green. Look for these comeback routes, the secondary routes. When he's in trouble, who are the outlets? Is it a dual threat running back you can trust, like a Caden Durham, a Harlem Berry? Is it Trades Green, of course, like always? How is his relationship with these different profiles? Is he working well with the yards after catch burners like Jace Brown and Trey Wilson? Well, from what we've seen and what I've been told, Trey Wilson alongside Jace Brown could be a really standout player for LSU this season. Just a freak, an absolute freak. This former Florida Gator has the speed to not only create the separation from almost any defensive back and get away from the length of a lot of defensive backs, but once he has the football in his hands, he's even faster. This kid is something else. He has a turbulence, a velocity to the way he carries the football that is special. The gadgetry that Charlie Weiss Jr. and Lane Kiffin have to be cobbling up around Trey Wilson or Jace Brown, it's got to be really brilliant. Jace Brown is another guy who's going to be good for LSU. More standardized than Trey Wilson, more of a burner, feed him over the middle, give him a lot of those quick slants, quick drop slants. Um, give him the football as quickly as possible. Snap the ball. Let him do that quick release. Make a move. Shake and bake. Take the corner. Take the slot man. Take the nickel slightly outside. Break it back inside. Quickly deliver that football when he's got that little yard of extra space, that yard or two of separation. You give him that in stride, he's gone for 30, 40 yards, and at a minimum, 8 or 9, 10. Like these are plays that are just high percentage with these guys. Pitch, catch, 7 or 8 yards at a minimum. Jace Brown, Trey Wilson, divine weapons for this offense. Divine weapons for this offense. And then Winnie Watkins. You can put him in that same conversation as a burner, even though I think he's more of an all-around guy as well. All 3 of these guys, you may think of them as just kinda speed demon, gadget guys, but they all have such all-around abilities that, yes, they're a lot of these guys are probably gonna be mostly featured in the slot, but man, they can do damage from almost anywhere. I've really you had a 166-yard game from Winnie Watkins, 10 catches, 166 yards already this offseason. He did, actually get banged up a few practices ago in that scrimmage. So he has been fighting through some injury concerns as well, wearing that gold shirt, but he's out there practicing. So it's likely nothing more precautionary. But, Jace Brown, Trey Wilson, Winnie Watkins, you have a power trio of speed demonry right there. You have some road runners, baby. And, behind them, Corey Barber, Jabari Mack, you know, you have some real depth at receiver here. It's incredible. If LSU have a subpar passing game, fire everybody because this is this is just. I mean, Trades Green is there to just box everybody out and do that right there. Sam Levitt really, it's going to be about decision making, who to feed the football to, and when. And Sam Levitt's decision making is really going to be key. Who to throw the football to and when, because there's going to be options. And there's going to be relationships and there's going to be favorites that he prefers. But man, you're going to have options in this offensive and windows to really make these plays. But also with such an aggressive, fast-paced offense, you get way too confident into the realm of cocky. That is when that can be completely used against you in a pick six the other way, So his decision making, Sam Levitt's decision making is going to be so damn key to LSU's, college football playoff success here. Whether they go on this college football playoff quest and go on this run or not. That's really what this is up to. Is he going to be throwing the dumb pick six in the red zone? Can he find Trades Green on the boundary with those fade routes in those one-on-one matchups? When he's being chased out of the pocket, he's running for his life, he's on the run. Can he make that smart decision that doesn't, give the other team the damn football? You know, he has such a damn good defense on the other side of the ball to trust as well. So this is a guy going into a season where it's like you have a damn good defense as well. You don't have to prove yourself as a dual threat that you can run the football every single second either. Sam Levitt is going into this season as, apart from the ankle injury, which he's been 100% from that since spring. It's just he hasn't tested it in a football game yet. But you couldn't ask for a better situation or scenario, really, for him coming back into 2026 from this injury, moving to different teams, going to LSU from Arizona State. All that's happened, all that's been said, the crazy transfer saga, the back and forth madness, all of it, missing spring, the questions. He has all the weapons. He has the backfield. He has a solidified offensive line with Bo Bordelon also having a big rise himself as a left guard. Jordan Seaton saying that, that is that man is the best left guard for me and the best left guard for this team. That was said a lot. That was a crazy big time endorsement of Bo Bordelon. This is really a great situation for Sam Levitt entering this season. A big primetime chance to really show his, demonstrate what he can do against Clemson, a team that's really bleeding like a wounded animal, rushing into the corner and hiding. That, that's what Dabo Swinney's Clemson looks like right now. They're looking like just everything is chaos over there. And they're coming into the real Death Valley against the real Tigers. And it's gonna be a moment, I think, where Sam Levitt he shows his capacity to make the right decisions, because that's what it's about here. He's gonna have all the weapons to succeed. It's just about finding the right guys at the right time, making sure this offense has a rhythm, has a dance to it with Charlie Weiss Jr., that he has that connection with Charlie Weiss Jr. And here's the thing. Since the green dot was allowed, basically I'm talking about in-ear communications between the quarterback or on defense, the linebacker, and their respective coordinators or play callers. Ole Miss put up crazy numbers under Kiffin with different quarterbacks, Jackson Dart, now Trinidad Chambliss. So now Kiffin over here with Charlie Weiss Jr., Joe Cox, Dane, their quarterbacks coach, all these guys experienced, successful with quarterback development. Sam Levitt now with this big moment around him. He's got all the players around him to really make this a juggernaut offense. And then offense that doesn't have to hit the ground running either. They can start slow here. And they can find their feet throughout the season. They can control games with the running game. They don't have to put up 40 plus a game. Hell, LSU's offense only scored once or twice over 30 points all of last season. And you would think they would lose every game doing that, right? But they only lost 4 games. Or sorry, was it 5? I lose track of how many it was last year. It was terrible. But LSU's defense was incredible. They barely gave up anything. So an upgraded defense as well, knowing that you are maybe you get in 1 or 2 shootouts this season, 1 or 2 track meets this season. That's what's going to happen in the SEC. You're going to be in a few shootouts. Or you're going to be in a few crazy offensive battles. But I think you have a coaching staff that understands the ebb and flows of a game and an offensive rhythm, an offensive when to go on the long drives, when to slash and dash and slice up the opponent, when to do like death by 1,000 cuts and a bunch of quick little screen passes and quick little 5-yard slants. They know how to wear down and control and dominate defenses. Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss. So you put those guys together. You put them with Sam Levitt. You put them with a guy like Trey Green. You have a guy like Trey Wilson who's been showing out in camp like he's an absolute freak of nature in the Percy Harvin mold. You have a guy like Jace Brown who's looking like an absolute, everything we thought Aaron Anderson should have been at LSU that he was denied to be by the Joe Sloan offense and by injuries. Jace Brown might have a chance to do that. Winnie Watkins, he could be the do-it-all, complete freak for the next few years at LSU. He's just barely starting his career, really. you have so many weapons. Jackson Harris as well could be your key third down guy. How many times did he make a big third or fourth down catch for Hawaii and not only get the first down, but then get 6 points as well on top of it? What a freak of nature Jackson Harris is too. I could see him being a big time outlet for Sam Levitt. So you have weapons all over this offense. You have the defense that should be a top 15, top 20 defense in the least. You marry a Lane Kiffin offense with his historic ability to run the football, with the upgraded athletes and upgraded talent level, upgraded staff at LSU. He did not have Blake Baker at Ole Miss. He's now got Blake Baker at LSU. You combine these elements. Shit, guys. I mean, there's upgraded depth in a lot of these places where you look. There's upgraded talent. There's everything across the board under Lane Kiffin is going in the right direction. You've just got to see the product on the field manifest itself. And I think the way that is going to happen, this team has to avoid injuries. You must avoid injuries. All costs. This team runs into injuries, this season could implode like we saw last season. Any thoughts, everybody? I'm I'm really blown away by how well Lane Kiffin's been able to handle this job at LSU. Not only pulling off the number one portal class, getting the number one quarterback, number one offensive lineman, number one edge rusher, basically the number one safety in Ty Benefield, should be ranked number one safety in Ty Benefield. You were able to retain or convince every big time player that LSU had on roster to stay, that it's worthwhile for one more year or not to enter the portal. They even pushed the right buttons with Bo Bordelon. People thought Bo Bordelon would never develop into the player that a lot of people thought he could have been when he first came to LSU. Oh, well, it's too many years. He can't, he can't do it now. It's been too many years. Bo Bordelon can't turn that corner now. Well, you put him with Lane Kiffin. You put him with Eric Walford. You put him with Nick Savage, their strength and conditioning coach, and damn it, he turns that corner so quick. And now, hell yeah, Bo Bordelon belongs as an LSU starter. He's earned that starting job. I hope he keeps it. I hope he stays healthy because, my God, that young man, in an era where all of this is so rare, that you have guys stick it out when things don't go their way. When you have guys who fight through the adversity and stay lower on the roster as a rah guy. And then you're able to fight your way to a starting lineup amongst a $40+ million roster. When you're playing next to a $5 million left tackle. And that left tackle, $5 million left tackle, says, this guy's the best left guard for this team, the best left guard for this roster, and sometimes he outworks my ass. It just seems like LSU is having every right button pushed by Lane Kiffin going into this season. Maybe I'm a fool. Maybe call me an idiot. Maybe it blows up in my face. Maybe LSU lose games, but I think if they do, it's going to be great performances, and you're unlucky and you're losing by 1 or 2 points or blocked field goals or crazy shit like that. Because Lane Kiffin, Verge Osbury, what they've been able to really hit the ground running and put together and build here at LSU with this 2026 roster and staff together. With these powers combined, Captain Planet. Man, I just have such high hopes and high feelings about this LSU 2026 season, guys. I think this is the first time LSU could have a top 10 defense since 2017. I also think with Kevin Smith, with Lane Kiffin, what he historically does with the running games, this could be the first time LSU, really gets a grasp on the running game in a long time. It's just we got to see it. And LSU are going to have we're going to play a hell of a schedule. And in fact, we should go through that as well, because LSU Odyssey the other day put out this wild season preview and predictions article. And we wanted to go through that with you guys, where we made some crazy predictions. We kind of course, we write kind of like a 10,000-foot look at the team, Of course, I had to put overall 2026 LSU feels just different, I had to include there. But then we went in and we went through game by game and predicted this season. And we wanted to make sure we were able to let you know why we made some of these picks. And we said that in the next edition of LSU Odyssey Live, we would be doing that. So, true to my word, here we are. King Daniel says, who do you think the 3 starting wide receivers will be? Daniel, thank you, brother. Thank you for watching. I'm not sure, man. I think for me, I'd want a mix of profiles, but I think it just depends on what they're wanting to do matchup wise. They feel like the speed is the matchup. They're going to go with more of the speedy guys. They can go with a double slot look. They can go with 2 tight end look with Malachi Thomas and Trey'Dez Green. You've seen a lot of that. I think you can count Trey'Dez Green as a receiver as well in the equation here. I think you go with Trey'Dez Green. I think you go with Winnie Watkins. I think you go with Jace Brown as the starting 3. And then say Trey'Dez would be the tight end. Okay. Then you go with Winnie Watkins, Jace Brown, and then Jackson Harris. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. For our predictions, here we are. Week 1, I am predicting a 31-6 blowout of Clemson. I am predicting LSU to literally make that game look like a week 0 game. Is that crazy or what? I've had some people say, "What the hell are you doing? Was that a typo? Did you leave out the 20, the 2 for 31-26? Did you leave out the 1, like 31-6? Really?" And I'm like, hell yeah. 31-6. I really think LSU are gonna beat the brains in of I hate saying that with my headache. Oh, that's terrible to say. 31-6 against Clemson. I don't think I need to explain it. I think this is LSU. Just Clemson have a few good receivers. They've got a few good players. It's not going to be anywhere near enough. LSU are going to get up early, and they're going to control that game. And LSU's defense are going to show what they're all about. Levitt's not even have to do much. Week 2, 54-0 against Louisiana Tech, a shutout for Blake Baker's defense, and that's how we should be putting an in-state minnow to the sword. And unlike last year, where it's like 25-7 or 22-7 or whatever the hell it was, and it felt like Louisiana Tech literally won the game. Week 3 at Ole Miss. This is the big one. 35-24. I have LSU pulling away late with a defensive touchdown as well to kind of make the score pad that score. But LSU go to Oxford in a crazy game. It gets really tight late. It gets really nuts. But LSU were able to really grind it out, and then a defensive touchdown extends that score, makes it look, a little more dominant than it will be. But it will be a very close game, despite what I predicted, 35-24. It will be a tight game. And then at A&M right after, I think LSU is going to survive this and finally get revenge on Marcel Reed, 27-17. Finally, I think Blake Baker is going to have everything ready for Marcel, and he's going to absolutely bottle him up. And I think Whit Weeks and potentially his brother Zach coming off the edge, maybe on third down, could play a big role in that win. But it's going to be low scoring, 27-17. Week 5 versus McNeese, 45-0. Another shutout for Blake Baker's defense. And it's going to look easy when these defenses, I think, play against these in-state minnows. You're just going to see how damn good we have it on defense this year. Week 6 at Kentucky. This is LSU's first loss, 23-21. Another low-scoring offensive. I think we're going to have some great drives, but scoring actual points in the end zone, not happening. Kentucky are able to eke out a crazy win with a last-second field goal, do-or-die field goal as time expires, beat us 23-21. They storm the field, take down the goalposts. It's a big loss for LSU after starting 5-0. But you think LSU can regroup from there. Week 7 versus Mississippi State, I believe that's an early game. LSU are going to win that 38-10. They're going to control that game. They're going to look stylish. They're going to look comfortable. Then week 8 at Auburn. I switched this from my original prediction. In my original prediction, I had LSU losing to Tennessee for our second loss of this season. In this prediction, I have changed that to at Auburn. LSU finally play Auburn for the first time in, I think, 2 years. And we lose 28-25 to the upstarts at Auburn, who have a pretty bad season, but they're able to outplay LSU when you least expect it. When you think LSU just got back all of everything right back in the swing of things, 38-10 over Mississippi State. Again, the confidence back. They get the confidence shot right back down with a tough loss at Auburn, and there's going to be an injury in that game that's going to help LSU lose that game. That's going to contribute to LSU losing that game. There's going to be a big injury in that game. Then there's the bye, and then you have Week 9 versus Alabama, and LSU are barely going to win this game 34-30. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a wild one. It's going to be dual-threat quarterback versus dual-threat quarterback. This is going to be a game where Sam Leavitt has either two choices. Either two choices for Sam Leavitt in this game. To crumple up and really show that he is not the quarterback everyone thinks he is, or he's going to put LSU on his shoulders, on his back, and take us to victory with his legs as much as his arm. And this is when his legs really take full flight in this season in 2026. And he rushes for over 100 yards, completely punks the shit out of Alabama. And LSU are able to survive a crazy back-and-forth game. 34-30, on the brink here. You already have two losses to teams you didn't expect to lose to, Kentucky and Auburn both. You had to win this game. Everything's do or die. This is crazy. But now you play Texas at home next. This shit never ends. But guess what? This is where Blake Baker and retaining him can make LSU a potential championship contending team. because LSU were able to win this 21-13 in a huge defensive battle, huge defensive struggle in this game against Texas. It is going to be the most physical, the most viscerally violent game of the season. It's going to be like that scene in the bathhouse of Eastern Promises where Viggo Mortensen's getting beaten while he's naked. It's going to be that violent in this game. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be awful. It's going to be football pain unlike you've ever seen. There's going to be vicious hits in this game, a lot of sacks on the quarterbacks. Um, there could be an injury to one of these quarterbacks in this game. You have Colin Simmons on one side, you got Prince Will on the other. You've got some absolute quarterback headhunters in this game, and I think probably the two best defenses in the SEC facing off, squaring off. It's some heads are going to roll. It's going to be a brutal game. LSU are going to pull it out late, 21-13. Yes, that is basically a nod to Coheed and Cambria, 21-13. I didn't even think about that. That's crazy. What a great song 21-13 is. So is 21-12 by Rush, but 21-13 by Coheed. Tennessee was a game I had LSU actually losing in my buffed in prime preseason predictions. Now I think LSU are going to destroy Tennessee 41-17. Blake Baker has always owned Josh Heupel. He's going to own him once again and give Lane Kiffin a platform with a defensive touchdown or two to really put the smack down on this opposing fan bases that's going to be booing him, that's going to be throwing stuff, that, the Mr. Triple Chin has basically said, hey, go after Kiffin and throw shit and get all the mustard and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah. Well, guess what? You're going to get your ass kicked 41-17. And then LSU finished the season 44-9 win over Arkansas. Okay, interesting thing here. LSU finished with 2 40-point wins, right? Guess what? LSU only have 4 40-plus point games in my predictions. Only 4. I think this offense is going to rely on the defense. It's not going to be a ton of points. Still, at the same time, I think this offense is going to be able to pour it on when they need to most. And they're going to be able to put up a lot of yards. So those are our predictions. You can check those out on LSUOdyssey.com. 8.5 sacks for Jordan Ross, the most sacks. Then we got a bunch of links to all of our defensive profiles. We did a defensive outlook profile, running backs, deep dive, D-line, youth renaissance, and Coach O's influence on Gerald's and Anderson, Sam Levitt, in-depth, the wide receivers film study, David Weeks coming on the show talking about his boys, the O-line, a few anchors plus major questions, the return of DBU, the house of Raymond and Olsen. So there's a lot there. We'll like our own article because we're tacky like that. But yeah, check that out and check out some of the other stuff on LSUOdyssey.com. There's a ton of interesting stuff there. But everyone, we'll be doing a separate show to kind of go in more about this Jaden Daniels versus LSU thing. So couldn't get to that, but we will get to that next time. My head is just booming. I can only do this for so long. But thank you guys for talking to me. And you guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being part of what we do. And you know what, guys? I can feel this season coming up right now. I can feel it. It is right around the corner, baby. And it feels so good.